Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the video. This is Fish Room blog number 57, and I want to start off today's video by thanking all those who took part in my last poll, which was guessing the age of that old sponge. Over 200 people participated, and the ranges were pretty much split evenly at 25, 25, 25 between the three oldest categories. So the oldest category, which was over 20 years, was actually the right one. It was a sponge that I had set up in an aquarium, and I had a discussion with the client trying to figure out exactly what it was, but we could only get somewhere between 26 and 28 years. So congratulations to those 25%. That is it, and it shows you just how long those things last, and definitely don't throw a sponge out unless it's really just falling apart. So if you wonder what I'm doing here, this is one of the leftover tanks from my plant growth from different substrates experiment. This is the one that had the commercial product in it, and it's getting time that I need to clean this out. The plants obviously are doing fine, and if you want to figure out my opinions on as far as growing plants, you just go check those videos out. I mean, there's nothing terribly wrong with this one other than it had issues with shrimp and a little bit of issue balancing in the beginning, but then after that you can see the tank is settled in and it's doing just fine. There's nothing really wrong with it besides those things. Now, I did discover two other things since I started taking this apart that adds to the negative aspects of using this particular thing, but we'll get to those in a minute. So I want to change this tank over. I am going to start collecting a little bit more in the way of guppy fry. There's a ton of them in here already. So I am going to prune this back drastically, split up that large valve, clean up the filter, and probably also move some of the other plants around to give as much space as possible. And then, you can see there, is when I was doing this part here that I actually noticed something interesting. I set up all the high humidity planters for this experiment all at the same time, and by the end of this little run of clips here, I'll show you the flows from all the other ones. This one is practically stopped. It is flowing just a little bit, just enough to keep everything working, but that is one of the things I noticed about the growth substrate, the commercial one. It seems to eventually, I mean, this is a fairly lengthy time, so it's not as big a negative as I'm thinking it to be, but it compacts and it plugs up, so there's not nearly as much flow going through this as there was anywhere in the beginning of it. Again, it has been a very long time, but all the others are doing perfectly fine, the ones with the gravel, so it is a negative. It's just not that important. The thing I don't like about it is if I'm going to set up an gravel filter, I hope that it will continue running for a very long time, because that's the whole point of using them. They're very good biological filters. They keep running, especially these ones here, for years before you have to worry about them. And this one did not. So I need to tear that one out. I'm going to take the undergravel filter out. I'm going to take out the plant growth substrate, put in gravel, and it'll be fine for, well, a very long time after that. So I'm pulling everything out, as you can see. A lot of this is just going to go straight back in. And you can see the plants are all really nice and healthy, so that's not really that big an issue. It actually ended up growing the subwasser tank pretty well too in the end, as you can see there, which did surprise me a little bit because it really didn't like it in the beginning. But again, as it matured, it seemed to settle down fairly well. So this is Cryptogreen. I think it's Wenti, and it is not growing spectacularly. It basically doesn't really care for this particular environment, but that's not a big deal. It's a fairly slow grower anyway. As you can see, the red Luigia here is perfectly fine. I've pruned that back 2 or 3 times now, I think, and it needs to be pruned back once more. So all these plants came out of that 15-gallon tank, so it does grow plants. And I noticed that while I was doing this as well, the shrimp seem to have either adapted, or whatever was inhibiting the shrimp seems to have dissipated. So you can see that's just a little bit of trickle that's coming out of the filter. And I'm going to not clean the top part, just to show it as a comparison, I am going to dump this and put in gravel. So it'll be a straight comparison between the two. And there's one other thing I noticed I didn't like about this growth substrate. With soil, all I do is put it in a bucket like this, rinse it with water, rinse the soil out, and it leaves the gravel behind. I'm having a hard time separating the gravel out from the growth substrate, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. These are the two that I haven't touched. These are the gravel ones, and as you can see, they're flowing quite nicely. And they've been, well, since this experiment began. So now I am going to clean this out and get it flowing properly. It is, well, partially cleaned at this point, but I am going to, here we go, this is it here. So that's gravel in there now, and you can see there's still a little less flow than the other two, so it wasn't entirely the growth substrate's problem, but it was partially that. So once this all clears up, I am going to catch all the adults out of here and get this going. This is one other thing I did recently. This is the cow manure. I checked to see if there is a spike in ammonia, but there wasn't. I wasn't really expecting one. It may have been transient, but the fish are all fine. No one seems to care, so I don't think that's going to be an issue, but we'll see long term. I caught one female OB zebra, and she had her babies. Well, then I started a trend, I guess. I decided I'd catch this one too, because I knew she was going to pop real soon. And actually, this is about 2 hours before the next clip. And there she goes. She's already spit her babies out. And I started feeding her, and I'll put her back in with the rest of them in a little bit. So these are newly spit out. They're really doing fine, of course. It's hard not to do well with Africans. They're very easy to grow and keep. And these are the ones from last week. I don't think I'm going to collect any more of these, though. I just don't have that much of a use for a whole pile of them. So this is, I finally got a shot of the baby Coria that I saved there a couple weeks ago, and it's doing really nicely. It's in here now, chewing on some microworms. This is the baby rainbow tank, and he has all the food he wants, because whatever settles the bottom, the rainbows don't bother with, and he takes care of, which is really kind of useful. And I really do need to split this up. I do now have 3 males in here, 2 young ones that are sexually mature, as you can see there, and a whole pile of females. I need to make some more breeding groups, which means I have to set up some more tanks. So that needs to be done soon. I have to get that going. It's getting a little crowded in here. I don't think it'll be a problem, but it may interfere with the breeding. These guys have gotten over their shyness. These are the Brazilian rainbows, and, well, the white clouds were never shy to begin with. So they're settling in, and they're feeding really well, and I hope to grow them up a little bit and hopefully get a breeding pair out of them. I really like them. They're really nice. They're, again, very easy to keep, so it's really kind of cool that way. So next clips involve the plants that I'm growing, and I have put the spray bar system together and a couple of other ones, and I am finding a drastic difference. This one I didn't really care for how it fit underneath. You can see that first leaf is what it was sort of growing when it was in the other pot. It popped out that leaf, and then again you see it has another leaf coming, and that's all within a little over a week. And this prayer plant was almost wilting, and it's now coming back. One of the leaves did pass, as you can see there, but it's got a couple new leaves coming out, and I'm going to see how they grow and see how they look, and if they continue to do well, I'm going to switch the other one over to this as well. You can see the peace lily here just over to the right, and I'm going to pan out here in a second. It is doing very well. It's growing new leaves, sending out a couple of flowers. I don't see any change in it whatsoever, and it is just being fed tank water, continuously bubbling out of this thing. And like I said, that's perfectly fine. I actually really like how this is going. These two here, I am going to switch over, I think, but we'll see. Patience is the key to these things, and I'm going to give it a little bit longer. This is the first one I set up, and I'm having no issues at all with it. The spider plant is probably the slowest grower here, but everything else is doing just fine. It is quite acceptable the way this is going. And again, I'm finding a much better environment for the plants than sort of the fish in the tank, which is more important, I suppose. I didn't show you a clip of the rainbow fry growing up. Sorry, but this video is already getting quite long, so I had to cut some things. I also had a little bit I want to show you for the food culturing, but I'll do that all next week. And there's Ripley. She's doing perfectly well, just as perky as ever. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video, and please leave comments below. Let me know what you think. I don't think I'll ever run out of material for these vlogs. There's always seems to be so much going on in the fish room, and I mean, this one I had to cut stuff out. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.